Christian beliefs about creation and the origins of the universe are found in the first book of the Bible in Genesis 1 and in Genesis 2. There are a number of different interpretations of the accounts in Genesis, and depending on an interpretation that's taken, this will have implications for whether Christians believe that religion and science can coexist with one another or not. One way to view the Genesis account of creation is to take a literal view. This means that when you read through the story in Genesis, you would believe that what's written is exactly as it happened. So God created the world in 6 days with 1 day of rest. There are people who believe this, but it's not widely accepted today. A conservative reading of Genesis will still say that everything in the Bible is true, but that we need to look at it through the lens of science and what science tells us today. So, for example, the 6 days of creation might be interpreted to show a longer period of time. For some Christians, that might also make it compatible with evolution. A liberal reading of Genesis will say that evolution and Big Bang, so the scientific theories of the universe, can be fully accepted. They will not disregard the Bible, but they will say that the Genesis account is more to be read symbolically, to show something of God's power or involvement in some way in the creation accounts. Scientific explanations for the origins of the universe are associated with Georges Lemaitre, whose work gave way to the Big Bang theory, and also Charles Darwin's theory of evolution and the survival of the fittest. So the universe began with the Big Bang, and species have been evolving since then to adapt to their environments. So whilst there are different interpretations of the origins of the universe, one of the key questions is whether or not the religious and the scientific accounts are really in conflict. Some people will say they are, others will say they're not, and there might be a way to reconcile both religion and science. Some reasons why religion and science might be seen as being in conflict is because the religious accounts, according to some people, are based on outdated or ancient texts and no longer relevant. One argument is that science adapts in light of new evidence, whereas religion doesn't, it stays the same, and perhaps religion is just there to comfort people. Religion and science might not be seen as in conflict because for some they would say they just deal with different areas of life. John Polkinghorne, the philosopher, says that religion gives answers to questions about why, whereas science explains how things happened. Some people will say that both religion and science do adapt, and a liberal view would allow for both views. More recently, there have been a shift within the Church to try and find ways to reconcile both religion and science and to show ways that they might work together. In 2014, the current Pope Francis, came out with this quote here: "The Big Bang does not contradict the intervention of the divine creator," so it doesn't contradict God, but rather requires it. So suggesting that whilst the Big Bang might give explanations, there is still space for God. However, one big challenge for some Christians is whether or not a belief in evolution still allows for a designer God. And some Christians might say that if humans have evolved, then it means that they can't be made in the image of God, and this might challenge the view that all humans are sacred. The Church of England and the Anglican Church generally affirm the compatibility of science and Christian belief. There are two quick quotes here from the Diocese of Manchester which have to reinforce that. So the compatibility of belief in God and science and the desire to aid understanding of the two. Regardless of a Christian view on the origins of the universe, one of the key questions to also consider is what do Christians believe about the use of the universe? So how should they be able to access resources, and do they have a responsibility in how they care for the environment? Genesis 1:28 is a quote which has caused much debate over the years, and it says, "Let them rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." And there are two key interpretations of what this idea of rule means in Genesis. One interpretation of Genesis 1:28 is this idea of dominion, which says that humans can rule over and use the universe in a way that benefits them. So it would, in its extreme sense, disregard care for the environment and say that the resources on Earth are for us only. The view of dominion has been largely disregarded by Christians now in favour of stewardship, which says that humans have a responsibility to care for the environment, to steward the earth, to protect it and not abuse it. This is reinforced by the Anglican Church Synod, which says that Christians have a duty to protect the earth they've been given. 4 quick questions to check your understanding. Firstly, what is a literal view of Genesis? Secondly, what reasons could be given to show religion and science are in conflict? And thirdly, what reasons could be given to show that they are not in conflict? Finally, what different interpretations are there of Genesis 1:28 and why is this significant?